eco-warriors staging protests at power stations in the UK. In their major campaign against global warming, the stakes couldn't be higher.
If we don't succeed in getting carbon emissions down within the next 10 or 20 years, then we're going to see temperatures, planetary temperatures rise by 3, 4 or 5 degrees, wiping out most of life as we know it.
This dangerous scenario has led climate change author Mark Lynas to become the environmental movement's latest dissident, breaking ranks to speak out in favour of nuclear energy.
We would be crazy to reject it in an age where we desperately need new sources of energy which do not cause global warming. And so I've taken issue with the mainstream environmental movement for actually making the fight against climate change more difficult by trying to stop further nuclear power development.
Over at Greenpeace UK, however, they're sticking to the traditional dogma.
We disagree. We disagree because nuclear power is politically destabilising, and we do not believe that any of the problems like discharges and waste have been properly dealt with.
But Lynas reckons it's time for his Green colleagues to face facts.
So if you go to the mainstream scientific opinion on nuclear power, from the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, for example, it is that the existing fleet of nuclear power stations around the world, and there's about 430, save 2 billion tonnes of carbon, if you compare it to coal, from going into the atmosphere every year. Now that's quite a significant saving.
But convincing the grassroots won't be easy.
I've come in for quite a lot of attacks from I've lost friends over this, because this is something that people feel incredibly strongly about. And I have compared it to a sort of a religious position because it's based on faith more than evidence, in my opinion.
With the Green lobby disagreeing over what action to take, it's a baffling time for business, and examples of thwarted green efforts abound.
The biofuels example being a prime one of a lot of companies invested good money, many of them in good faith, in a model that is now very much open to question in terms of its environmental sustainability. And we see that repeated time and time again.
Adding to the confusion, accusations of lack of policy leadership.
We think government needs to step up to the plate and have a vision for the future energy system and make a safe and secure investment proposition for people who want to invest in the right thing, like renewables and energy efficiency. At the moment, the signals are weak, counterproductive, and they don't live up to the rhetoric that they're talking on climate change.
Businesses need a clear regulatory framework, and a powerful corporate lobby recently demanded the UK government aim for even higher greenhouse gas cuts than the targets currently in place. Sectors such as IT, meanwhile, have been slow to grasp the green nettle.
We did some research about 18 months ago in Gartner, and we found that if you look at the information and communications technology industry as a whole, we emit about 2% of the world's CO2 gases, which is about the same as the aviation industry. Now, the airline folks get a bad press. Very few people know about how guilty we are in the sector.
Lack of faith in carbon emissions accounting is a major problem.
The issue of accounting for the carbon emissions from technology is one that's in its embryonic stage. It's very difficult, and at the moment people do not feel confident that they can trust any particular body or any particular organisation to structure the accounting principles around green accounting.
As businesses struggle to adapt, environmentalists are changing their image to suit the times.
In many ways, we can have a more constructive dialogue with business than we can with the government, where old-fashioned forms of thinking seem particularly entrenched.
There's been a sea change in the environmental movement in the last sort of 10 years or so, where people have realised that you just can't criticise anything and you can't stick with this cliched image of the hair-shirted hippie. They understand they need to engage, and they are very much doing so.
For the confused and uncertain, there is plenty of greening to be getting on with.
A lot of businesses aren't even doing the simple stuff like putting double glazing in or investing in insulation or changing their lighting to the lowest option. So it's a case of doing those things first, and then hopefully within the next 5-10 years the standards will emerge that will allow you to do the more complicated things.
And anything that helps cut costs in these times of economic turmoil must be a safe bet.